This is the year-end market report for Washtenaw County, and taking a brief look at 2017 and then, or 2016 rather, and then a look forward to 2017 and what we expect. Going back for Washtenaw, as we've said many times throughout the year, is probably the strongest county, the strongest market in the state. The rest of the state followed the same trends that Washtenaw did. Washtenaw followed at a little faster pace. And if we look at the market divided by price range, under 250, 250 to 500, 500 above, they all acted differently. So it's worthwhile looking at each of those. And the under 250, the squeeze of inventory was most dramatic. Inventory was down 33%, so it was a 7-year low as best as we could see in terms of number of homes available to be purchased throughout the year in under 250 price range. And if you were looking at that price range, you knew the frenzy of that activity. Values, not surprisingly, went up 7%. And the new homes coming onto the market were squeezed as well. They didn't come on as fast as the buyer pace. So you go one step up, the 250 to 500, values were up about 3%, sales up about 12%, so really strong showing in that price range. And a lot of that was because buyers were forced to move up price range to find inventory. The number of new listings was actually up in that price range as it was in the over $500,000 price range. So that means a little more plentiful inventory. So it was a good market for the middle. The over $500,000, interestingly enough and unique to Washtenaw, the over 500 market was probably the strongest in the state. Home sales were up there, which was unique. And inventories have been squeezed a little bit in the last few months, a little bit tighter. So going into the year, the upper end looks a little healthier than we thought it would look actually going into the year. Because in general, inventories are rising for the upper end, and home sales, the number of sales are starting to flatten out and settle. So even in Washtenaw, there's a little bit of a settling, more so in the rest of Southeast Michigan. But we anticipate home values probably in that upper end going into 2017 to probably be pretty flat as inventories rise and as the buyer demand settles in the upper end. A slight rise in the middle markets, and then it's still a pretty good. If we had 7% last year, we'll probably hit that same number, close to it this year. If we look at where the market is going in general for the entire country, not just Washtenaw County, the biggest issue is interest rates and if they rise up. They averaged about 3.6 last year. General consensus is the mid-4s this year, so almost a 1% rise potentially throughout the year. What will that do to the marketplace? Well, the closest prior year to compare it to is 2014, where rates went up about a 0.5 percentage point, almost to 1 point throughout 2013 and into 2014. So what happened in that year? Well, actually the number of homes sold went down. And went down for a couple of reasons. Buyers could only afford what they could afford, so it wasn't that buyers left the market, they just paused. They paused waiting for their incomes to rise, waiting for values to maybe decline a little bit, waiting for inventories to become a little more plentiful, more choice. We anticipate the same thing in 17. It could very well be that sales will not be as high, it can't go up forever and ever, in 17 versus 16. And we think some of that might be as interest rates rise, buyers will pause. At all different price ranges, they'll pause and they'll wait. Now the offset to that is that incomes are rising, millennials are getting into the market faster and faster, and there's this big bulge getting into the marketplace, and job growth is strong. So all of those, and there's still some pent-up demand from our recession. So all those things will help offset a rise, because a 1% rise in interest rates reduces affordability by 10%. So all things being equal, if there were no economic offsets, you could possibly see a 10% decline in values with a 1% rise in interest rates. That rarely happens. We don't expect that to happen this year. We think those offsets will cover most of it, which means if you're thinking as a seller to put your home on the market, spring is the time to do it. Market might be settling more towards the fall. And we're not talking about terrible settling, but just a little bit more than certainly this spring. So overall, 16 a great year for Washtenaw County and real estate. 17 we anticipate a good year as well. Possibly not as good as 17, but if we're wrong, we're probably wrong on the negative side. It may be equal or even better. So good luck in 2017.